အားလုံးပဲမင်္ဂလာပါကျမတို့အပတ်စဉ်တနင်္ဂနွေနေ့မနက်10:00 နာရီတိုင်းကျင်းပလျက်ရှိတဲ့ပြည်သူ့စစ်သားစကားပါ
Morning, would like to welcome you to the People Soldiers Talk that we organize every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And I would like to wish you all health and happiness, and thank you for joining us. And we have the speakers and panelists ready to join in the discussions. So let's start with a short video.
I'd
like to welcome you to the People Soldiers Talk that takes place every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Myanmar time. My name is Thinzar. I'm a democracy activist, and I'll be your moderator for this talk show. I hope that some of our participants remember that the last Sunday we talked about how did the SAC divided that the soldiers and the people, and it was a dialogue with the participation of the police Colonel Muyanai as well as other officers. We are talking about this topic because now when we are at a time in the revolution, it is also important to think about the revolution. It's a conceptual revolution that we also need to do that. We also need to discuss about it. That what are the pillars that are supporting the military, economic pillars as well as the philosophical pillars. People of Myanmar are boycotting against military in different ways. They are contributing to the revolution in different ways as well. That there are also other one of the things that are supporting the SAC or the military is that their conceptual framework or the philosophy. So it is also important to dismantle the military propaganda and to weaken them by changing the concept, changing the ideas, changing the way of thinking. And that is one of the purpose of our talk show. We are now at the 15th episode, and that today we'll be talking about how can the entire regiments get away from free themselves from the control of the military. We have invited Dr. Tomye from associate professor from the Carleton College, and we have also have Captain Nyi Thuta as well as advocate Nan Thwel, who is also married to a soldier who has joined the CDM movement. So they will be discussing from the three different perspectives as well as on the ground situation. So that I will also like to request you to join in the discussion and ask questions. This People's Talk we have been organizing with the three main purposes. First is for the people of Myanmar to understand the CDM journey, the CDM journey of the soldiers joining the people's side, and that it is also important to understand the difficulty of those who have to remain inside the military that involuntarily, and also to encourage people to join the people's support. The soldiers, their families, and the civilians' families have different stories. It's important to also to understand each other, to talk to stories. They share the stories to promote and improve understanding. So if you would like to have, if you want to get more details and updates, you can also follow us on peoplesoldier.org, and we also have the Facebook page for the People Soldier as well as Wives of the People Soldiers, and then their website as well. So I would like to start with Captain Nyi Thuta. Could you also share about the update of what has been happening for that? So from the People Soldiers, that we have a People Soldier protection team that we have a protection team, we have established it, and that team is led by this initiative is led by from the DSTA, from the engineering, the University of the Military, we have the officers, as well as on the other soldiers, other rank and file who are joining the CDM movement. So we are trying to fill in the need for the ammunition and the weapons, what is important in the revolution. So we are trying to fulfill that need, especially when it comes to, we intend to provide more technical support, that if we can do more research and to be able to share that, then we think that we'll be able to we think that we'll be able to fill the need on our own. So for many events, we have taken the preparation, and now some of the projects are now very soon will come into fruition very soon. So it's very encouraging that our production team has been working on, and that at the same time we still need support from the people, and that's the message I would like to give to the public, that the technology as well as the weapons and ammunition that we produce will be used for the PDF and local defense forces. That will be our main distribution. That for People Soldier protection team and the work that we do, the updates to follow our updates. Please follow us People Soldier page, or the PSPT, People Soldier Protection Team, will be sharing update, and would like to welcome the people to come and follow our pages and look at, and also please contribute all the resources that we need in order to support our efforts. And that's the update I would like to give. Thank you. So yes, like Sia has said before, please we can also look into the details about this team on the Facebook page as well. Today's topic is, as I said before, that we'll be looking at that how can the topic is whether we'll be able to overcome them. No, the problem is that Myanmar military is said that Myanmar military is using the weapons, using the ammunition. They are committing the human rights violations. They are also manipulating the laws as they want to. And this is something we are seeing not only inside Myanmar, the international community is also well aware of. We are trying to change that to the revolution. So our topic today will be is that looking at, if we look at the past, the present, the future of the terminal or the military, and that how do the people see it, and that what kind of ideas, what kind of thinking they are also building consistently. So we'll have a political analyst, so that Myint will be analyzing as well. We'll also be looking at either individually or for the soldiers, the entire regiments, what can they do during the revolution to be able to save their dignity, to be able to get free from the control of the terminal. What can they do? And the last point I would like to make is people of Myanmar should deserve justice, and there are people who are trying inside Myanmar as well as around the world to be able to achieve justice in Myanmar. So in that case, then how can we build justice, and what world would be like, what would look like it? So I would like to first invite Dr. Myint to share to participate in the discussion. We cannot see you yet, Sia. Thank you, Dr. Myint, for joining us, despite the time that you have been that in the past 1988 uprising, you have participated. You also have been a strategist. Then you have also worked as you are also serving as a professor at the college, and so in the beginning of the 2020 Spring Revolution, when we have a lot of CDM, then you also have established the mutual aid, Myanmar Mutual Aid, with the other experts as well. So the CDMers know very well about the mutual aid provided assistance CDM, and we'd like to thank you for giving us the time and participating in the discussion. And I'd like to wish you all a very good morning. And also that to be able to participate in this panel, to talk with the people soldiers, and I really appreciate that. I am honored to be part of the list. I'm also encouraged by this panel. So looking at the current situation, SAC, led by Myint Thwel, has been continuing to build as a new government, and to also trying to be able to it's very clear that they cannot continue as a new government, or they cannot continue as a professional army in the global global platform, because people have continued to stage protests across Myanmar, and we also have the soldiers and the police officer who joined the CDM movement along with the civil servants, and that said the CDM movement is still disturbing the government mechanism. The strike is still ongoing with the CDM, and then through the CDM movement, I think since the first week, from the donors around the world, that from the mutual aid, we're able to raise funds at the funds. I mean, we're able to raise about $700,000, and that we will be able to dispense it to the CDMers to support to the basic needs of the families of the CDMers as well. So that it is our contribution to the CDM movement. And for the CDM civil servants and the soldiers, as well as that we look at the Thermidor right now, that military is also, we are also seeing that the people soldiers, and that they're working to stop the Thermidor from acting as like a professional army, and that is something we are important to do. I think I would like to share some backgrounds on this. Myint Thwel and the military administrative council, SAC, there is a favorite word they like to use, and they would often claim that there has been that election fraud during the 2020 general elections, and because of that we cannot continue on this journey, and that's why they have to launch the coup d'etat. That if there had been if the election fraud, and there has been a fraudulent voter list of a voting issue, this is something you need to rely on the legal recourse to set up to resolve the issue, and that it can also be filed charges for the over there has been we are also seeing the cases like the over 1,200 cases. That's how the democracy functions, that the democracy continues, and the election fraudulent will be resolved in court. But they have destroyed the democracy and democratic process, and they even violated the constitution that they have drafted. So it is a treason. They themselves have committed the treason against the sovereignty, against the nation. From the legal perspective, it's very clear. It's a violation of law. And why did they conducted the coup d'etat? There are many reasons to it. We could start from the section 59 for the constitution about obstructing the constitution while getting the post, and that NLD have to enact a new law to appoint Aung San Suu Kyi as a state councillor, and these are the things they are not happy with. They are not content with that. In that they have sent a letter to the 71 pages letter to the Joint Credential Committee, and that we have also seen that I was also reading the first interview as well. If we look at it, that they are not they seem to be retributing against NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi, and that's the part. That's why they try to dissolve the NLD party. Aung San Suu Kyi has been arrested, and that these were political leaders. So there are political, in a way, it can be considered as political motivations as well. And that political reforms that going on. So that there are also political reforms like according to the international standards and also the economic standard as well. Some of these parts I will touch upon during the discussion. If we look at it from this perspective, and Myint Thwel, that Thammadol, when he became Thammadol's commander-in-chief, that commander-in-chief, that was the 30th of March and 2011, he became the commander-in-chief. Since then, there have been 3 historical events in Myanmar. These are 3 historical events important for Myanmar, but for the world too. The first event is what happened in the 29th of November in 2012. At that time, at the Labadao copper mine in Moyua area in the central part of Myanmar, the community member who are protesting against the Chinese mineral company, the monks were demonstrating, and there has been using a chemical. We might not be able to use the term chemical weapon here, but they employ gas. That gas as a weapon, and as a weapon, and to crack down the peaceful demonstrators, monks, and there was the first event where they target the civilian. If the civilian people are blocking their way, they will not hesitate. That's the first event. Second event is in 2017, and as we all know, the Ranger crisis is something that we all know that happened in 2017. Clearest is very clear that is it started, the Ranger crisis started back in the 2012, but the peak happened in the 2017, and lastly, since 1st of February 2021, the military, their acts has been they are committing acts of treason against the nation, against the people, and even their very own 2008 constitution. And there's and as people know that, and that international community also know that. That's why people of Myanmar has been consistent in pushing against the military junta. So it is important that those who has been leading the Thammadol since 2011, so Myint Thwel and that military leadership are the ones who are destroying the dignity of the Thammadol as an institution. And that if we look at the history, I'm just referring to the 3 important events in history. So, but this is something we can also take into consideration, that when you have such a person who is a person who is crazy about power, and how did that person came into position, and how this person was created. If you know the answer, if you want to know this answer, I think it is also important to look at our neighboring countries like China. The role of China is important, because that if we look at the history of military, that the serenity of Myanmar is that it is said that if you look at the institution who is pushing Myanmar under the Chinese control, the Chinese hands, are this power maniac that the military leadership who is pushed into the hands of China. So it is important that the soldiers, especially the officers, like from the generals to the rank and file to the non-commissioned, also the full soldier, think about the history. How can you save the glory and the dignity of the Thammadol is something you will all need to think about. I will also that later on I will also discuss about it in this panel. That after that, that when we discuss this, we can also see that some of the also important, the generals and the rank and file, if they want to correct the path, if you want to put Thammadol back on the right track and to save the dignity and the honor of the Thammadol, then it is important to realize what you have done so far, and for the future it is also important to think about the civilian people. People have lost their families, they have lost their sons and daughters, they have lost parents, they have lost brothers and sisters. All these losses, in addition to the properties, and the entire village went down, the entire towns went down. The Generation Z, the future, the young generation, they have ended up their future and their other prospects, because they are now training for military, training for the military revolution in the jungle. So all these injustice needs to be addressed, need to be resolved, and it is also important to discuss how we can also find justice to fight against such injustice as well. Thank you, Sia, for sharing, because you have been in the politics since 1988. I also have been always been analyzing their politics in Myanmar. So thank you for sharing us. And if you have any questions or comments to Sia Tomye, please write your questions in the chat box or the Q&A. Then we'll give you time when we have time as well. Now we are also just ready news that there has been a strike in Yangon, and the strike in Yangon, the military is hitting with the car, or they're shooting at the demonstrators, and that they are also fighting as well so it is happening in Jiminai Township, the Bamingji Street. Also, we only say we condemn such action, violent crackdown, because people have the right to freedom of expression, and that the peaceful, non-violent demonstrators are being violently cracked down. So it is happening. We're seeing crackdown not only in Yangon, but also across different towns and villages in Myanmar, and we condemn the SAC and their violent and soft crackdown. And just to share with you what is happening as well. So thank you to Dr. Tomye for sharing. So I would like to invite Captain Nyi Thuta or Nan Thwel. Do you want to add or respond to what Sia Tomye has shared? Do you have any questions, or do you want to support it? I would like to give the floor first to Captain Nyi Thuta. As Dr. Tomye has shared, so that military, I think it is important for the military has done a lot of mistakes in the past. And when we joined the military, that was in 2007 and 2010, I became officer in 2010. At the time, Myanmar was going through a transition period. That Myanmar has started on December of the transformation. We are also trying to change the political culture at that time. At the time, that younger generation of officers like us, we are thinking that our country is changing, and military is also trying to change, and that was we hope, that was we expected, and that's why we stayed on. That's why we continue serving inside the military. But in 2000, we see that 2021, that is, we are directly going back to backwards. That it is reversible. That what we have done is destroying the history of the military and the character and the dignity of the military, and they are destroying it themselves. If we look at the history of Myanmar has gone through a lot of highs and lows. When Myanmar was first established, it was led by General Aung San, and then 30 of the officer, the comrades, and that has been that Myanmar had made the history by supporting the people of Myanmar. There have been times that the military has also done some good thing, and there also have been bad. There has been highs and lows, but later on, the terminal is turning more towards the bad rather than the good. And if you look at there are also in 2010 of transition, we are thinking that maybe there are some hopes for us, that the lot of efforts have been done in 2010. In the transition period, there have been people as well as the political community has tried reconciliation to build trust to an extent that reconciliation has failed. That and then we seem to be end of the road of the terminal. That 2021 Spring Revolution is become the revolution, that there are no revolution to be able to back to restore democracy. That is the culmination of all the other events that had taken place before, for the military to be able to rewrite their history, for them to be able to save their honor and dignity. I think it is important to firstly, they need to look at they need to go against the mindset and the concept that military currently is carrying on. Like I was also that is also watching what is happening in Myanmar, like hitting the people, the peaceful protester with the car, is that by the car is like even if knew that it is it is people, it's not people who are hurting other people, is that the people are demonstrating, they are not being a problem, they are not endangering the military. In that case, that you're hitting the people with the car, it is a horrible act, that it is endangering the lives of the peaceful protester. Is horrible, is horrible, is horrifying, is his with the more of the armed revolution going on, then these that there will be that the places will turn into the front line. That will be very hard for people to forgive or forget, because it is important for our soldiers to remind ourselves we deserve the dignity or the history of ourselves, especially the senior officers. And when we say commanders, you can say the could be the commander of a regiment, or or it could be the commander of a battalion, or it could be the commander of the command of the military command. They need to be, they have the full that power authority, that although the commander of the regiment, they follow his order of the superiors, but he is accountable. He is the highest accountable person in a regiment. In the same way, the same for the commander. So these commanders of the regional command or the brigade command, they need to be thinking harder about this, because the path that they are on right now, there is none gain, because they are where they are going. Are they to war? We are seeing more that these are that if there is more fighting, the soldiers will die also. People will die. There will be casualties. That I think it is important for the commanders to think about it. That are they going to sacrifice the lives of their the soldiers? I think it is not about it. I think if you love the officers, if you love your rank and files and the orders that you give, I think it is also important for the officers rank and file to refuse such orders. That you also need to look at the people of Myanmar, that now that you have become an organization, that people no longer found valuable, that people don't think you there is also important to think about the leadership, because there will be war crimes that they will be held accountable to. We have seen in some also Myanmar that the people are being the houses have been burned down, and the way people have been arrested arbitrarily. All these there will be action taken against such officers, such orders. So if you remain in the military, that you will die, because you are losing your humanity, you are losing your humanity, and that's how you're gonna die as well. And that those you based on that, you are losing all your future. In such situation, shouldn't they be try to make a change, make a very brave decision, make a courage decision to change their lives, to turn their lives around? Right now, people can still understand you. If you were to go against the military generals and you join the CDM movement and fight against military, people will you the war. If you lose the fight, that because only do say please have mercy on us, and we're just following orders, people will not forgive you, because revolutionary forces will not accept that, because it has been there has been a history of that the reconciliation. There has been efforts for the understanding reconciliation. We try to be able to learn together. It has not been successful. So that if the soldiers join the officers would join the CDM, that if they don't even join the revolution, but they stop being the pocket army, they stop being being used by their puppets, the Anwar puppets used by the military. Then if they stop being that, they can start their lives as human beings, and that is a golden opportunity. And I would like them to seize the situation, because for our future, because our future depends on our decision. So by making such decision, that officers and the non-commissioned officer, warrant officer, I mean, like, it depends on their own, because however, they may make individual decision, but these commanders, like like the commanders of the regiment or commander of these brigades, they are accountable to the decision of their officers and their soldiers. So that I think they have the responsibility to stop the terror by killing the civilians, innocent civilians, by stopping them, by carrying out such order. You are saving your history, you are saving your dignity. I think it is important that commanders understand, to have the courage and to be brave enough to make the right decision. What we know is that those in the military, those in the commanders understand very well that the coup has bring nothing good for them. Their families are suffering, people are suffering, and they understand it very well. But how do they try to escape there? How do they get out of the situation? They don't have an answer. They are sacrificing their sacrificing a lot of lives, and that they don't have the courage necessary to make the break. So I think soldiers are brave. The soldiers have courage. Where are you using your courage? It is important to use the courage to be used for the future of the country. Make sacrifices. You make sacrifices. We need to sacrifice our lives. Or that, are you safe? Say, inside the military, do you have the dignity? No, you have lost everything. You have lost being a part of the dignified institutions. That if you remain there without overcoming if we continue as slaves from the 18th century, then if they have never been free, so they don't know the value of the freedom. But you have been, we were very much into being the slaves, and if you continue as slave, now we have a chance for transformation, and now is the time for us to change. Because right now, if you continue, what I can say clearly is that will be, as the Myanmar expression goes, it will be worse than the slaves. It is important to understand the situation, to break free of the control of the military, and try the people, because why people can still forgive you and therefore get a chance to redeem yourself. So what we have listened to is that it is also important that the regiments need to understand that when we look at the CDMs, we often see soldiers, we often see majors. That's the highest position that we often see. But so why are the more senior officer are quite reluctant about joining it? Is because something we need to learn further. So we'll be asking questions. I would like to ask question to Nan Thwel. Nan Thwel, you are a lawyer, and also as a wife of a military officer, you live inside the army base as well. So why are there, the wives of the commanders or their families and friends and family, what are they thinking? How do they continue living with what is happening around them, what is happening inside Myanmar? Please share your opinion.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Inside the military, for the wives of the soldiers or the officers, so that they were not treated as partners. We may be the wives of the soldiers, but we are ordered around like soldiers. Our children were treated as the same, like we are by also the soldiers. Then the women, there are also meetings, Starbucks, you have to go and pray together, and you have to do the cleaning, you have to do everything, just like you are in part of you are just like if you're an officer too, that if there is a day that there are no senior officer coming, you spend entire night waiting for it, and that if they want to do something, want to go somewhere, then we also have to do that too. And then whenever there's senior officers are doing that, if if your husband is like a junior officer, then you have to support to every month we have to spend a lot of time with the extra duties of the military as well. That it's quite difficult for women to be able to start their business. If you want to do if you want to work business, if you want to have your own livelihood, you have to go. You have to stay outside of the army base that you can run. If you stay inside the army the base, and then it will be very difficult to have your own career or your own profession or your own business, because because they want everything, they want all the military families to give priority all to the military work, that the other work are being put aside, that the military work is always must be the priority. That's always how it is. That's how we had to spend our life. Not just the soldiers, but also their wives and their children are being considered as also that they are being brainwashed, they are being formatted into what they want, what they think. And if you, for the entire regiments to try the CDM movement, that it is also important for the you need to share the information. We also need to give them opportunity to be able to know about what is right from wrong. And I think also important to understand as well for the families that it is also important for the families to think about the future of their children as well. It is also important for them to realize what is happening, they understand the right from wrong, and choose the right side for the future of the future of their children too. Thank you, Siamat Nan Thwel. I will also be later on asking you about the legal perspective as well. I think Sia has shared along with the history about the situation and the scam from Dr. Tom Myint, and that Nyi Thuta also talk about what the regiments, anti-regiment should do and commanders should do, and Nan Thwel also have suggested. Now to the second part, we have been discussing about it. We are talking about the individual soldiers. We are talking about what they should do, but what about the units, or that what about the commanders, or what about the regiments, and what should they do? We know that there are a lot of challenges, but despite the challenges, we like to start from Dr. Tom Myint, that what can the units and the forces do? Even if they cannot leave the military immediately, what role can they do? What can they do to support the people? In part of the discussion is that it is important for the soldiers to write their own history. That 2021 is that 2021 is a question. It's a question that is 2021 situation given us a task given us to us, that how will you rewrite your story? That I think it is also true that Tamaro as an institution can no longer save its dignity, and that in that case, if you respect the dignity, if you're a soldier who respect the Tamaro, and that we have the soldiers from foot soldiers to the senior leadership, the question is, what can you do to save the dignity? What can you do? Before we start on what can we do, and then there's a question of why should we think about what we need to do? So if you look at what can we do, if you want to gauge and what you should be doing, I think, like I said before, the history starts from the 2011. But it is a short history. But we need to look back farther. If we look at the 1962, that like in 1962, 63, that also we can also look at the independence back in the 1948. That some of the ethnic organizations have been because of the extremists, so there is some of the ethnic communities, they cannot stay under the extremist Buddhist, the patriotic system. So because there was no inclusivity, and they have started the armed revolution. It has been there for over 73 years. That and a nation that is aiming toward that Burma Buddhist centralism is started from that history. If we look at the history, that's also very clear that these such countries that has been, it is also important along the history that such nation that has been built have proved to be unacceptable to the people. That's very clear. Those with these big statues, 3 big statues in Nebido, and they want to continue to build such a Buddhist nation, and the military leadership, they need to understand that how can they continue to build such a nation based on the Burma Buddhism. What we need to to do continue? What do we need to do? What should we do? Is that to be very clear here, the threat is not just about your lives and your assets and your properties. You need to think about your future. You need to think about your children, your grandchildren. What about the future generation who will live in Myanmar in next 200 years or 200 years? And that if they were to live, I'm not talking about the under the Madamado. If we are going to live under such a power maniacs like Myint, do you want the future generation of Myanmar to live under such power maniacs? And that the fact that these power maniacs came into Myanmar is because if you look at the history and if you look at the facts, we will see very clearly that China, there has been in 1970 at the 76, and that there has been what we call the Chen dynasty, the Chenlo, that has given orders that his order for peace. I would like to quote that order from Emperor Chenlo, the 1776 or there's 1770 that Emperor Chenlo had given that order for peace. The Chinese Emperor Chenlo is that we cannot overcome that we cannot win Myanmar, and we don't need to overtake Myanmar. And what? Because a lot of his general have committed suicide about failing to capture Myanmar. His order is that we don't need to annex Myanmar, and we just need to make sure we get all the resources from Myanmar, and that's what we should focus on. That Myanmar never should have peace, and we make sure Myanmar is always doesn't have peace, and we just provoke to make sure there is instability inside Myanmar. That means that will create the meaning of the war that we have fought. And if we look at it from that order of the 1773 in 2021, that if we look at the natural resources of Myanmar, based on these natural resources, that there are a lot of development projects coming in, and these out of these development projects how China is involved in the development projects. If we look at that, you'll see that from the 2020 and even in 20 to 21, if you look at this, about 22 point there has 5 billion dollars have been invested in Myanmar, and that out of this 52.5 of the 95 billion, 52 billion come from China, Hong Kong, and Singapore. These are the investments from this country as well. That it is also important that 50% of their businesses in Myanmar are in their power, under their control. That's out of the 59.50 about the 55.9 billion. So that is if we look at it to the 1970s, if you look at it with order, these are all that they are going under the Chinese the way. So if that means the 60, that's about the 60 point that by 2% as well. That I'm sure you have also have, if you have the news that the China also have controlled the other areas. When you have about over 50%, over 50% of the investment in Myanmar, and they control also they also a lot of it, and we are that in the 60%. We're not talking about the 2.5 billion that electricity project of along the ERE that the Chinese company has been implementing. We are not counting that in. That it is important that Myanmar. That if you look at Myanmar, the economy, they are there. They are also in the politics. Also, they are there, and they have they are also using they are controlling the tin mineral, and that's the Union Company is a world. Myanmar is the third largest production country. China comes first, Indonesia second, Myanmar is the third largest producer of tin. So the war and the China, they are controlling that as well, and that and also that we also have the Jiaopyu the project, as well as on the the natural like a Lebanon copper mine project in the central part of Myanmar. So many projects. There has been so many. There over 1,136 projects that the China control, and these projects they are nearly about 54% of the total projects in Myanmar. So that means that most of the major investment projects in Myanmar, economic projects in Myanmar, and a Chinese control. So if you look at it, that if you were to compare it, to link with the Chinese emperor's order of the 1700s, of the 1800s, and this is that they need egomaniac in Myanmar. Egomaniac can become, they can their puppet, something they can manipulate. So it is important that the Myanmar Tamro need to realize that these are Myanmar Tamro, that should they stay under the control of such a egomaniac, shouldn't they be that joining the people, by siding the people, and become people's soldier and they rewrite their history? And that's the question important. Like you can mention, like the one you asked, that will give us the question of what can they do, what can the soldiers do, what can the units do, what can the regiments do. Is there are very clear part that people have given that as well. That as for the CDM, that CDMers are always there, and that we all know that as well. Like they're over like nearly about 8,000 soldiers and police have joined the CDM movement. That means CDM is possible. They can join the CDM. If you cannot, if you cannot give up the uniform, and that if you are being, the corner, that you cannot leave and you cannot. There are things still you can do. If you cannot, you can. That you don't need to necessarily need to follow the orders. If they give you orders to like kill soldiers or destroy their houses or destroy villages, such orders like the orders that will have an impact on the lives and the assets of the people and the properties of people. Such orders, I think it is important. They can slow down. They can slow down as much as they can, and that they slow down in implementing, or maybe also these orders cannot be, that you can also become delayed to the extent that these orders will not be realized. Once you're decided, once you're committed, there are ways you can do. And I have in the Mizima, I also have written about this in the Mizima in my article in both English and Burmese language. So I think for us, what is important is why you should do this. That's a question, the most important. Try to answer why you should join. One is to save the dignity, to save the owner of the Tamaro asset, but SAC under the military, under the Tamaro is under the mainline control or SAC control. You will never be able to save. You will never be saved the dignity or the honor of the Tamaro, and you have to ask your questions. You need to answer that question. Another thing is that the Tamaro, the Tamaro is pushing the sovereignty of Myanmar into China's hand, and I think you need to be very clear about it. You can look at the facts to see how they can be. I'm not just they're saying was. Look at the data. Look at the data they have. That if you look at on the 30th of September, that the military have announced their information they have released. Look at that data. That really is overwhelming. That like the loss of Uganda, the Sri Lankers, like the Uganda, the port are losing. The China globalism is towards their people of their people and their interests. That's how they are working. That's how the China is trying to control worldism. So it is that if we look at this, you'll see that all that whatever you have understood, that it is if you really want to protect the sovereignty of Myanmar, if you have a strong patriotism, that if you are a soldier, you join it because you believe in protecting the sovereignty, you believe in their country, then that you have clearly what you do. You know what to do. Well, you join the CDM. Yes, you can join the CDM. If you can do the CDM, you can join it, because that is it's a very dignified way of doing this. CDM is the CDM is been considered. It says last year CDM was considered as a way to even to provide a Nobel Peace Prize, and that's how important CDM is. That Tamaro, as long as under the military and under the current military leadership, you cannot save the dignity of the Tamaro as an institution. Like Captain Nyi Thuta has said before, if you continue living there inside the such Tamaro, there is no meaning for your life. If you don't join the CDM movement, there are also no that no way for their future or for your children, because they are destroying it, not only your future but also that of their children as well. That here we're fighting PDF, where we're fighting the revolution is gaining momentum. Like I said before, there's there's still time for you. I think it is important to question yourself. It is important to make sure that your souls are clean. I think it is important to do your bit of soul searching, to find out of what you need to do. So that so what I think, if you want to of course discuss what can we do, I think we can continue for the discussion. That's all I would like to share here for now. Thank you, and I was listening, and also it's also a lot of great learning as well. It is also a great opportunity for us to learn from the expert. It's also very important for us to learn as well. That because if we need to understand that, so that we know where we are going and what we are doing too. So you said that military has been doing a lot. So what I think the message we can give is that is one thing we can say is that all the criminal activities, other communities to be accountable, and that it is also important that there are those who are following the orders, or there are those who are supporting it by not doing anything. Is also important that for also I think it is important for all the rank and file, as well as for the regiments, and you need to understand that there is also the responsibility. They also have a responsibility as well. So into what Sia has made, the point that Sia just made, does anyone want to contribute to the discussion? Nyi Thuta, please. So in what Sia has shared before, so there are things that they can do even if they remain inside the military. So there's so do you also want we give them the nickname of watermelon, so pro-democracy soldiers. What can they do? What can they do while they remain inside the military? And why they are inside when they are inside the military, when they are still remaining inside the army bases, I think it is important to that but that officers will give a lot of the superior officers will give pressure so that they cannot stay without obeying the orders. That is not easy. Because like the war have years, like the way we don't know that sometimes it's also kind of very difficult to say things that it's like like a lucky draw that is also is that if maybe there are those who are maybe if they share the opinion, a problem. It's like a liquid door, we don't know. So it's kind of difficult for us to find a way to find groups as well, and that but at the same time, even then that is it is also important that we're talking about the groups like majors or there's someone senior officer. There has been a case that we know that there has been we know that some of them have already have they have to withdraw the entire camp or the entire base, and that also happening also in other parts as well. We know that, but also in the unknown areas that is might be difficult to go to. I would like to say that please try pushing. For example, like if you are in the frontline base, that we know that if you are in the officers, you know about the situation. Maybe it one night cannot get one day, and that maybe you can explain another day. Let's say the frontline army camp in their base. So SAC camps don't have much manpower. Some camps only have 10 people. Some have no more than 20. If you come and fight, if the BDF come and fight you, you will lose your lives, and then no one will know about this the lives you have lost. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. As a commander, as a losing your camp, it's not worth it. Losing your officers when you're not gonna fight. So it is important to find a way to get it. How well can you leave your camp? that if you want to leave your camp, if you want to defect, then reach out to us. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to the EAOs. You can reach out to their PDF. You can talk to the PDF. There are still channels to negotiate. It's not like before. We have more technology that you'll be able to. But there are also that in Chin State also we have seen that entire camps are withdrawing or they're going away. That is. I think it is also important that there are also, if you are clever enough to be will negotiate, to start talking, then you don't, and when you give orders, by the orders you don't go, and that they will inform the PDF they are not going to fight it, because that will give them more preparation for the PDF. I think it is also important. There are already the negotiation going on at the army at the camp level. So I think if you are in the army, you won't be able to hear that. But however, that if you are outside, if you are talking to the PDF, if you're talking to the you here, you will be the one to make a decision on this. So I think, how can you negotiate? How can you discuss? How can you plan for the camp? I think this is something we can. There are people who can help you think about it. There are people who can. So just reach out to us. And we'll find a way how you can. Janice, I don't want to use the arm surrender, but how can you demobilize yourself? How can you give up your arms? I wouldn't say surrender. Even if you cannot surrender or give up your arms, then don't stop working for the SAC. Stop working for the country hunter. It is not giving up. It's not abandoning. It's not surrender. We are trying to go back to the original situation. We are to serve the people. We are to protect the people. That's what we are going forward. That's what we are going for. Because Tamaro is no longer serving the people. Tamaro is no longer protecting the people. Then we need to do our work. The nature of the man is that it is also that we, by by changing the side, by defining the people, by protecting the people, is that this is that it is also, if you look at those who have joined, they supported that people. If you look at those who have joined the CDM movement, that we are not being treated as those are losers. We didn't lose the war. We are never treated as such. I think that's because we are not surrendering. We are making the change. We are stepping up to make the change happen. So it is important to understand that if you are a symbol, if you are under the SAC, if you are a soldier in the SAC army, and if you will break away from that, you will find your own identity. It is hard, but there have been other people who have joined the movement. Why cannot you make a decision and follow the way through? So that's my question to you. That if you are hesitating, and you don't know, you're hesitating and you're reluctant to join, then you'll be part of the history, because there's the situation in 2021 is that our history is gone, our dignity is gone, that you'll not be able to overcome that. So if you are the soldier, if you're an officer who served in the SAC in 2021, that's bad for your children, that's bad for your generation. Let's say, where's your father a soldier in the 2021, will be very problematic. So I think it is important to the guilty consciousness you have. It is important to do a deep soul searching and build a better future. And if you need help, if you need assistance, reach out to us, to the NUG and PDF. They are welcoming us. For us to opportunity to change. And that's the message I would like to give to all the brothers and sisters. Thank you. So I think if soldiers were to defect, join the CDM by one, there could be cancelled. If the regiment or units, the entire units, I think it is the common agreement, and that they all work together. So I think it also will be really encouraging, motivating for those who are helping as well. I think it will even be easier for the units or the regiments to join the CDM movement. So we haven't heard such stories, but that could happen. And what I do encourage you to join us, the regiments or units, that will be good. So I would like to, in addition to that, I would like to ask us, Nan Thwel, that that by leaving the military, it cannot be cannot be individual decision. It will also be a decision of their family as well. That so in the regiment, is the commander of the regiment is a key, that the commander make the decision, and then all the entire regiment will follow. So if that is that I think if the commander were to decide, then they will be able to get all the rank and file to join him as well. What about the wives? What is the role of the wives of these commanders can play? What can the wives of the officers do for that to happen? We are the people that we are facing. We have voted despite the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic. That it hasn't been long after that the COVID-19 that the military has military has also had to make it in a way so to have conducted the coup d'etat. So despite despite because of the COVID-19 pandemic, people had to stop working. People are facing under another challenge of the coup. Now people were happy, in favor. People were happy in 2021 because we have a COVID-19 vaccines. We'll be able to go back to work, and that we'll be happy to be able to go back. But that the coup is in a way a military way of breaking all our hopes and expectations. I was in the army. I was in there, and I was living in the army base, and then they said that USDP is the party of the military, is a partner, is a party that recognize the Buddhism, and they have to vote for USDP. It was already that if you are members, your husband or the families are member of the military, you have to stay away from the politics. You cannot join their party, and that's not to do that. So it has been, and there has been a lot of to make sure that this and also online do not like or share any of that were a lot of restrictions for those their wives and the children, children of the village. So one officer was he put it in his profile of the P3 3P party. That officer was transferred to another place, and that even it was that is so they will say that it's because and it's not because NLD that they were lucky. And that there were also cases also where they were asked us to do the when you go to the advanced voting, everybody must stamp for the USDP. They were pushed to do that. We don't know. We were asked to there was the advanced voting, for example, like the officers in the military, and they will say that the USDP, you have to vote for USDP, and they take a vote and they will stamp it as well. And that if you are going there to vote for it, you are not even allowed to hold the voting stamp. That was how the military and how they are violating the rights of a right to vote. They are not even get the right to vote. When you are a soldier, when you are the wife of the soldier, you may be a wife of a soldier, you may be a wife of the son or daughters of the soldier, but you are still civilians. You still, as a citizen, you still have a right to exercise. So at this something we need to think about it. We don't have the full right. We don't really get that chance to do this. I think it is also important to that. So that if we look at it, all that is happening, I think it is also important to see that it is also important to be critical of what is happening, the challenges that we are facing. That it is, as a wife, also it is your responsibility to explain to them as well that if you also in a way that and also to talk to them, that you also as a family and the wives also, that you still have a role to play to explain to them what is happening. And it is also important for that to understand that what is that to see the reality of what is happening on the ground. You need to explain to them, because I think it is important that the wives and the dependents or the children that that you also need to think about how, I mean, like that. Look at how you are restricted you are by staying in the army base. Like how many restrictions have been there, and that, I mean, like you understand this restriction. I mean, like how much they take care of you. I mean, they don't, and they need to be clear about it. There's restriction. You are being treated badly, and what is happening inside the terminal, and what is really happening outside there. It is important to know that what is really happening, how the people are feeling towards, and I think it is important to be realistic, understand, and make sure that your family members also understand that. Are you going to just remain inside the army? It is also important to look at what is happening outside, and then try to, as soldiers, I think it is also important to realize what is really happening, and then know the truth and recognize the truth. And that's what you need to know. And by knowing the truth, and then you will able to make a decision, and for the future of your children, for the future of the future of your children, and that to be also able to tell your story without with conscience, without guilt, with the conscience that is important, that you make the change. You make the change so that your history, that there's something you can share your the children, you can share your future generation of your history. I think it is important to think about that, to ensure that to be responsible, accountable for the future of the children, and that for the future generations. I think it is important that also to it is important to give up the position of the privilege and take the step, and they have the courage to step up and to understand the reality, to listen to what is happening, I think it is to make a clear decision, to have the courage to make the decision, to make the right call, to join the CDM movement. So people are saying that the wives of the commander are always enjoying their privilege and their position. Often the commanders also have a lot of powers. They are enjoying it. Also that they can, however, that the wives also are also enjoying that. So in a way that like Nan Thwel has said before, I think it is also important those if you have friends and family who are serving in the terminal, it is important to encourage them. It is important to dialogue them. It is important to convince them to join the CDM movement. If a soldiers are from your community, your village, are becoming officers or the commanders, you need to contact them. You need to reach out to them, and also to get them assistance. We are welcoming them to join the CDM movement. As like Nan Thwel said before, that military only have the weapons. They don't have the dignity. They don't have the legitimacy. They don't have the support. So if you look at the 50 million of the people, they are only in hundreds of thousands. They don't have the enough manpower. So that there is no legitimacy. There's no public support, and it is the right time to leave it. So now we are here. We have. So we will continue the discussion with this. I would like to go for the last part, for the recommendations. That right now we talk about justice. That justice in Mandalay recently, we also have a lot of what is justice for Myanmar. As you have asked the question, women have asked a question: what is justice for Myanmar? Justice is something we heard of, but we have never feel it, we have never enjoyed it, we never really get a taste of it. Because justice, a lot of people kind of think that you can buy justice with money, because there are also if you look at the judiciary still continuing to serve under the military, how bad that is, you all know about this. So nowadays people start to talk a lot about transitional justice. So what can we expect from transitional justice? If we look at the follow-up to the revolution that we are in, how can we bring justice to Myanmar? And that's something I would like to ask you. If you look at what are the efforts for the justice on the global world, and how can we reclaim justice in Myanmar? So when we say justice or transitional justice, before we start talking about transitional justice, I think also I would like to talk about it, that what Samamnate and the others say, if the military were to leave, and also that if they join the people side of the people, if they cannot leave, and that if they were to continue despite the challenges, by the difficulty, there are things they can do. There are things that they can do to support the people, and that to what extent can they bring justice? If we were to look at it, that they're following the orders of the generals or the commanders, the orders blindly. These orders that this order might be endangering the lives and the assets, and properties of the people. There could be orders to kill people. There are orders to shoot the people. There are orders to arbitrarily arrest the people. I think it is important, like all these, as a Buddhist way, all these orders are that when we call it akudu, or in a way they are sins. They are asking you to commit sins. They are asking you to commit evil acts. If you have been ordered to do so, I don't think if you want to commit that sins yourself, I think it is also important that to make sure you won't commit such evil acts, and it's also important that you don't that you should not carry them. I mean, by not doing so, you are also saving him from this ordering such evil acts. So it is a very noble way for that is justice, by not carrying out such evil orders or the sins against the civilians, against the pure Myanmar. That is a most noble act that you can do. That, for example, like if you are a soldier, you are a driver driving a trucker, you are like, you can say that from A to B, and if you say refuse to say you cannot go there, then military will not be kill the people, they will be kill the protectors, they won't be able to hit their protectors. Okay, so that in a car can be important to bring them in. Like if you can say like, okay, the wiring has been that be bitten off a mice that they cannot go, or the car is been delayed, the trip is delayed. There are things that you can do, because there are ways you can rewrite your history. I think it is important to continue doing that. Do what you can, even if you are inside the military, to hinder them, to obstruct them. That's important. If you can join the units or the army, if a military command will, to join the people, then that will be that CDM civil servant has obstructed the SAC from being able to run the administrative mechanism. If you do if the entire commands were to join the CDM movement, then it's like cutting the strings of the puppeteers, so that without the strings they will not be able to control it. And that is that most noble mindset that they can have while they're still coming there. That if that you have to, that no way for you to but to have to carry out the order. So then you have to face the justice, transitional justice. And there will be a justice. There is also accountability you have to own up to, especially like in South Africa. They have done in South Africa how they have carried out this transitional justice is that they, by customs, what they do is that on what day, so they have to formally, I have to burn out this village, and this because this officer order, I have to kill these people, and they have to do public apology, and they have to also to own up what they have ordered, that they do a public apology to the people, that as individual, as a citizen, as a human being, I apologize. So it has to be a public apology to the family of the victims, or those who have lost their lives or the assets or the properties, that house they had done in South Africa. Why they do that? That the family members also say that, well, that become a human being, because human beings are civilized, they are very polite. So the families of the victims, those who have suffered during they will not take action against such soldiers and officers, because humans are not animals. There are horrible things happening. We know that this is happening, but it is also important that all those who are committing violence, as their days are numbered, they won't have much long to live. So when we talk about transitional justice, I think it is also important that for the people to have a chance to forgive. That in Myanmar is we're going to say that that is to forgive what the past that they have committed against them. People will forgive them. Then they will need to admit it, confess with bravery and courage. And that Myanmar, what is happening in Myanmar is an unjust situation. It's a situation of injustice, like Nyi Thuta said before, and now there are also discrimination as well. Civilians, the families and the wives and the families of Myanmar, you are living in a great difficulty, quite stressed. If people living in Yangon, they have to be very worried about going outside, because of that they have to think several times before going out, because that's really is stressful. The people are feeling the stress that people are feeling for the day. But if you're inside the army base, and there are people who think you're like human beings, there are officers who think like human beings, there are generals who think like human beings, and they may also be facing a lot of stress. For that, people, I think they may be 2 or 3 times more than average civilians, because this, I'm just trying to be empathetic and try to understand their plight. And that if this is happening, then it is important that generals and officers and our commission officers, that how can you live in this such a stress and such an like a stressful situation? In this situation, people are also suffering. That isn't there a way that I can overcome that, try to change that? When that it will also help to achieve justice. If you look at it from the Buddhist culture or philosophy, or that of the other religions, and it's an important part of transitional justice. That all those who have committed their own such orders, if they were to confess and then do a public apology, write in their own signature, write in their own handwritings, on which day, which order we receive, and that's why we have shot at this many people, we have killed that many people. I think if you can also share as well that and that also, I think it will also that will be that if that can also help that as well. That's one thing we can share, that in Myanmar also, that people of Myanmar, a lot of people of Myanmar are Buddhist people. So about 68% of the people in Myanmar are Buddhist. So these people will not accept it as well. That at the same time, that I think I'm not good at, I don't know much about other religion, but other religions also about the act of forgiveness, or about transitional justice, or about public apology. There may be other mechanisms as well, other ways. So the people are polite, people are human beings, people are civilized. So I think it is important, despite the challenges, people are supporting each other. For the CDM, they are contributing whatever they have. That's a culture. That's a culture of giving and sharing. Like also like charity organizations in England, for example, like that they are doing the which countries there is a charity organization when measured that which countries are the most generous in 2015 to 2017. Myanmar was the most charitable country. So that is known across the world. From 2017 towards, and in Myanmar and US are the first ranking among as the most charitable. The often is they are either we are 1 or 2, US, and with the from the Rohingya issue, that Myanmar is that Myanmar as a nation of its culture of generosity, and then that the charitable nature has lost it because of it has been what happened, the Rohingya crisis, and that is so because of that, Myanmar has this stigma of being being a country where there's commit such horrible acts against the Rohingya, and that's why Myanmar has lost a bit of a status as one of the most charitable countries in the world. But after February, we can see that people are producing all the there are so helping each other by distributing that groceries, and that the vegetables and meats, and that some people were just also just giving all the basic needs, and that there were issues where there has been a cases where people donate, like if you have many, pay, if you don't have many, just take them. So there has been a way of like a pantry, or making programs where people are helping each other, and that's how polite and that's how dignified the people of Myanmar are. And that I think it is important that the people that has been impacted by the animalistic that is cruelties or brutalities of police and military is very clear. And that's why also UN has UN have in the critical committees, they have denied they have denied the submission of the SAC, and that they have deferred the position to the next year. By the UN way of UN saying they defer the decision, mean they are saying no very politely. So the Ambassador Chomoto has now opportunity to continue representing the people of Myanmar, and that shows that because people of Myanmar are on the right path, and that's why UN stood for Myanmar. It is important too that the UN is waging one step further to the fight of the people of Myanmar. So transitional justice, to find justice in Myanmar, it already exists. The transitional justice framework already exists in the hearts and minds of the people of Myanmar. I think it is also important that that we need to be start writing about it. If you are, I think one of the things they can also do, if you cannot leave the army for various reasons, then please take note of what is happening, the orders you have to follow, that you have already committed, the answers you have to commit it. I think one day with the transition justice, if you were able to admit them, give the confession of what you have committed, what were the orders you have received, and you have carried out, then that will also help with the transitional justice mechanism. Keep note of the orders, keep note of the actions, that the violence that you have been forced to commit against the people of Myanmar, that were completed by anthropological way, and I think socially, I think it's so important to find a way to find your soul. Thank you. It's a very good point. And that so what has happened now in Yangon, there are also many records of it, and there has also, we have seen many things. Also there are photos about at least 3 young men were killed in this. What is this event is that even in the without the internet, even in the net, whether we have the information just coming online, the immediately is happening as well. So I think that it is important to engage with also with this that is with this the international justice mechanism like the ICC and ICJ, and that so it's important as well. We are also starting to build cases to build litigation in Argentina also very recently, and that it says that also about that jurisdiction case Argentina court has also accepted as well. That is also, we are also hearing that as well, that it is also important to raise awareness that all the people who have committed the crimes will be held criminally accountable. Criminally, they have to face criminal liability as well. That and that it is also that the people also always say that we need to eradicate those accountability. So there's this it is a very toxic, so it is important so that it is suggested we need to culture and nurture the spirit. Now it's time for us that I think also. So I'd like to ask Nan Thwel and that Kotuta. I would like to ask the question first to Nan Thwel. So you are a lawyer, so I would like to ask that what is happening in that is that there are still, although we know that it is wrong, and that that in the past so in academia, so they were sentenced 70 years in prison. So how wrong the judicial pillar has fallen in Myanmar. So what is your message to the judges and lawyers? So in Myanmar, we don't have that. We don't have the law anymore, and that also when we talk about when there is also the judges have the right or discretion that they have the ability, they are given the mandate to think, but however they are not that. But they are not using it, that they are not using discretion. The discretion, their ability to adjudicate has been used for bribery and for corruption as well. They're using for the bad thing, that they are like judges are abusing the law and they are positioned for bribery and corruption. In the law, in the court, and all this, that we are seeing that we are seeing a lot of corruption is often that the legal law clerks, and the police officers, prosecutors, or all of us are responsible for the to fight against the justice. So for us for that and that often the judges and the prosecutors, and that they do not value the law they have studied. They don't enjoy the CDM. They follow the orders. They're very attached to their seat, their position. They cannot give up, and that they are not ashamed. Aren't you ashamed? My question is, aren't you ashamed? Don't you feel guilty? So I would like to encourage you to join them to join the CDM movement, because Myanmar is that. Myanmar has suffered. Myanmar, we have suffered under the 70 years of corruption and bribery, and there are stereotypes of corruption and bribery, and the civil servants are part of this corruption as well. That so they think that it is, although they don't even think it is something they have to be ashamed of. They think it is something they can do. So also that a lot of civil servants in Myanmar always tend to. I think it is important to think to able to find the reality as well that is happening. and think it is also important that it is also important. I think we are all responsible to be able to do that. So my encouragement to the judges and prosecutors to realize the truth and to be able to join the CDM movement. Thank you. Thank you, Nan Thwel. And so I would like to give the last words to Captain Nyi Thuta. So People Soldier Organization. So for that, so you are also have issue statements encouraging soldiers to break free or being controlled by it as well, and that you also have issue also letters that that removing Myint as commander-in-chief. You also have been apologies, public apologies for the acts that you're committed, and that you stand there. You also show that you stand with the people. Can you also share with us on that so that we know what we can do? Because this is something we can also learn for it. But we don't. The culture of apology and the apologizing for the past mistakes is also important, so that and that sometimes that so often if we had done the mistakes, or that they will often tend to continue that, so they continue committing that. So as People Soldier, what is the message you want to give to the people, or to as well, what is something you can do? Firstly, as human beings, I think existence of human beings is important. That so I think it is also important that it is also important that justice or injustice is something we know inside. We know inside in our spirit. We know in our heart. Accountability. I think the main difference between human beings and animals is the conscious. That we have the conscious. We have the ability to think and decide. Accountability is sometimes. It's not something you have to do. It can be something you didn't do it, but you may not be physically accountable. But if you see it happening and you didn't do anything, you are also partly accountable. And that's how you have to accept your accountability. From us and the members of the People Soldier team, we have been, as in the institution that we have worked for, have committed a lot of mistakes, committed a lot of acts around 4 acts. We may not be physically responsible for it. We need to apologize because we are accountable too. That's part of our accountability, because that was the institution we have worked for. That was the institution part of it. Is it enough? No, it's not enough, because people who suffer because of the lives of the people, because of the terminal acts of violence, the lives that were lost will never be returned. But I think it is important to recognize it and issue public apology. And if possible, it is also important to redress the suffering, the losses they suffer, that those are trying to also do remedy as well, trying to remedy and redress that. Because I think there are soldiers who didn't commit such as are doing public apology and trying to find a way to redress. There are inside the terminal, there are those who have committed such as, and those who are going to commit because of this, because of the orders. They have to be more accountable than us. That my question is that the identity, the existence of a person, it is important to have to be able to feel not to feel guilty in your conscience, because you cannot live with a guilty conscience. Now we still have time. Now there is still time to be able to live guilt-free. That nowadays military is not the state armed forces. No, it's just one of the armed organizations. Myanmar and others have committed high treason. They are being considered as traitors, public traitors. They are no longer the terminal. They are not the standard army. They are not the state army. They are one of the armed organization, and they are the leaders of an organization. So you have to ask your question: do you want to serve in the terminal? Do you want to serve in the terminal? Do you want to serve in an armed organization, just like a mafia, just like a triad? That are you, or do you want to work for an armed organization without discipline, without values, or without dignity? So you need to start your life somewhere. You may have committed crimes. You may have follow the acts. Then it is also important that you need to take responsibility for your action. You need to own them. That there could be ways that maybe there could be cases that where you'll be able to your sentence could be absorbed, but you may also take a legal action that you need to face those charges. If you have done 10 times what you do, then you need to get amnesty. You need to be able to be, if people forgive you, that you can live without guilt. You can continue to be that. If you are afraid of being part of it, we have already committed. Can we apologize? Should we apologize? We have committed a lot of, and because of if you are afraid of the action or the reaction and continue committing the same orders, the same the evil acts, then it will be worse. That you will end up with probably with capital sentence. That the capital sentence will go not only to you but also to the soldiers who rank and file who have to follow orders, because at that time it will be too late. You will be sentenced, people will not forgive you, and that will also make you end up with a very ugly history. So now there is still time to change, still time to absorb your guilt. Thank you. I think also we have been hearing cases about what's happening in Yangon. I think also Thailand. Also we are also seeing Chin State. Also there are also 12 times that the houses are being burned down. It is today is a sad day for all of us. But at the same time, I think what is also important is that for the Rohingya, the people that they are those who have been the most impacted by it. They suffer the most. But the Rohingya, they don't just stay sad or disappointed. That it is also important that they have been trying to get justice, to be able to have access to justice, like in Argentina. So that is Rohingya is that. That it is important to be able to it is important that we try to find the truth. It is also we start from the justice start with you, and that we can be the justice that we deserve. So we have we listened to the 3 speakers. I think it will be encouraging for all of us, and that thank you for Satomi for sharing his experience, and that there are strong words of the Nyi Thuta and that of his that all these are very important. That it is also important to also share that. It has been encouraging to listen to these words, and please share with us. The purpose of listening is to not just to listen for yourself, but also to share with others, especially so their families, their wives and families of the soldiers. If you are there of children and families of the officers and commanders, what are you doing now? That the fact that your father, your husbands are still going to serve in the SAC, are we going to just keep on looking at them and supporting that as well? That I also like you also talk about how to find justice, and also how can we also have listened deeply to the talk about what we do, and that as well as so we also hear about the future and what can they do as well, so that and that it is also very encouraging to hear the words of Dr. Tomi as well. In the future, in the Sunday talk, will invite other guests as well as activists and the youth, and their voice will try to include that as much as possible. That let's please also follow us on every Sunday at 10 a.m. Thank you very much, and I would like to wish you all health and safety. Thank you very much.
Yeah, look like
Amen.